on Ripple and XRP as a whole, I'm still net bullish on. XRP is still my biggest bag, even though people on the internet try to bash me for not talking about it all the time, as all these other bullish moon boys do, because I'm diversified into other projects. But just so that you guys know, it is still my biggest bag, both in terms of, well, just in terms of value, right? So this goes on to read, as of early 2026, the BlackRock USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund, BUDL, has officially integrated Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin as a primary 24/7 settlement and collateral off-ramp.
Well, I
In
was sitting at a lunch with the head of equities at one of the big sell side banks, and they pulled out their wallet and showed me their Phantom wallet and their MetaMask wallet and all the stuff they were doing in DeFi, and they understood it inside and out,
Yeah.
and they understood what the value prop was. It's not trading stock 24/7. It's the DeFi collateral aspect.
And then we'll roll over into just some quick fundamental pieces in regards to Ripple XRPL. And then I want to just briefly touch on some ongoings that are taking place in the DeFi ecosystem being built out on Canton. Now, before we get started and before we start to briefly touch on those topics, I'm not using any of the platforms that I'm going to cover today. I'm just taking a look at them outside of the Braun wallet. Braun wallet is one that I am personally utilizing. But the other ones, I'm just bringing to everybody's attention because it seems as though we're starting to see more DeFi for retail start to ramp up on Canton Network. And so I just want to start to put those things on our radar, as a lot of us are invested in Canton Coin. And we are obviously, of course, headstrong about turning our idle digital assets into passive income generating machines. So I thought that I'd be the one to bring those things to your guys' attention. Rolling over into the second portion of today's call, just taking a look real fast since we had a risk on backdrop on the market sentiment and we saw the total cryptocurrency market cap rally almost $100 billion on the day. I think it actually did before slightly retracing. We're still up right now, roughly about 76 billion. Still wouldn't get too optimistic. We still have some hurdles to the upside that we need to overcome, but nonetheless, I want to break down for you guys just some quick updates on XRP and Canton Coin. If the sentiment continues, albeit price action has been pretty slow, so the previous update has not relatively shifted substantially. But still, yesterday in the Zoom call, we had touched on the total cryptocurrency market cap. I drawed on this last week's low for you guys. I mentioned if the sentiment could continue risk on, we would likely start to see the market makers target the weekly high from last week, which came in at $3.2 trillion. Seems like right now we are making an attempt at that. The triple moving average is starting to hold as support. We would like to see the data the remainder of this week. Tomorrow we have PPI, we have unemployment claims as well on Thursday, and we also have scattered Fed speakers throughout the week. We'd like to see all that data and the geopolitical backdrop and tariff backdrop support a risk on sentiment. And if we can see that, then we're likely to start to make our way above the $3.2 trillion threshold, possibly turn this previously existing resistance into a support, see buyers trap sellers, and then become aggressive enough, hopefully, to start to make our way to rekindle some of the November losses that we saw back at the early days of November. All right. So that for now is the current sentiment. Unless that changes, given the fundamental backdrop tomorrow, make sure that you guys go back and revisit the risk on, risk off scenarios. That's something that I'm paying attention to. So Canton Coin first. Right now on Canton Coin, it does seem like we are starting to see buyers exhaust at roughly around the high 15-cent range, or excuse me, mid to 15-cent range. Right now, I'd say that that would be something of concern if we cannot see buyers continue with their strength above the mid 14-cent range into the sell dark pool at 15,898 for a possible retracement or revisitation of the 257 12-cent region here and the dark pool at 12 cents. So right now we're on the daily. I'd say that as long as price remains above this daily low, which comes in at about 12,685, I say that this uptrend could continue as we are possibly seeing a delta held pattern. If this is a sweep of a low, this is a break in market structure with this bullish move. And as long as we hold above this daily low, we could possibly see buyers rekindle defend and push price higher, making our way back up into that 15,898.10 psychological level. If we want to see any higher prices, we need to see the 15,898 hold as support. We need to see buyers trap sellers, and we need to see them become aggressive at this level and push through it smoothly. If we can see that, that will open the door for a possible 19,214 psychological level to come into fruition. Anything above 19 cents, we could possibly see some profit taking at 22,582. We have a ways to get there before that comes into fruition. To the downside, if we were to break this daily low or this bullish candlestick, I would start to see that as something of concern. The first bearish level to the downside would be a revisitation of the dark pool that was updated. We used to have a dark pool, I think it was at the 13,484, which was here in this area, but that dark pool shifted and is now hovering at the 12,257. Something I am noticing is that we had a test of the dark pool here. And here, even though we had buyers defend at this dark pool, we did not fully retest it. I am paying attention to the fact that the 50 EMA slightly rests at the 11.5 cent range, right underneath of the 12,257. So if this daily low breaks and sellers do regain control, the first area of interest for bearish targets and possible reaccumulation targets on Canton coin that I'm paying attention to, if we break the 12,257 region, is can we see this 50 moving average on the daily act as a support? That comes in at around the 11.5 cent region, where we could possibly see buyers defend slightly beneath the dark pool, break back above it, see a delta held pattern, and continue back to the upside. If sentiment does worsen, we break beneath the dark pool at 12,257. We do not see the 50 moving average act as a support, and we do not see buyers trap sellers and become aggressive back above the 12,257. That is likely to open the door, especially if we see this turn into a resistance for possible lower prices back down to the 0.9453. Same thing as before in the update, anything below the 0.9453, we have the dark pools at the 0.589 and the 0.2602 on our radar. We'll probably give another update before that comes into fruition. All right. So those are the levels right now on Canton. I'm hoping that this bullish momentum can continue. Right now, just being mindful of the bullish volume that exists in this daily candlestick. Can we hold above this daily candlestick and continue the momentum higher? If we do, how do buyers react around the 15,898? How do sellers defend? What is the battle that we see when price comes into that level, if it does? As for XRP, the last analysis that we gave when price was hovering at around $2.27 was that we would likely see a pullback down into the 50 EMA. The question once we came into this level is, can it hold and act as a support above $2? We had highlighted the previous area where that sell wall existed all the way back here at $1.98, where there was a previous resistance. Buyers were able to break above that resistance, turn it into support. We had mentioned that as long as buyers can hold above the $2 threshold, that we would likely see some form of a recovery on XRP. That for now is starting to play out. If this momentum to the upside can continue, I'm expecting a revisitation of the $2.27 threshold. If we break $2.27, the next area of interest for profit taking will be the $2.49 to $2.63 threshold for possible capital reallocation in some form of a pullback. To the downside, if the $2 threshold breaks, if this triple moving average crossover starts to act as a resistance and we start to see sellers overpower buyers and we cannot break bullish above the $2.27 threshold and we end up breaking $2, that's going to open the door for a revisitation of $1.84. Anything under $1.84, I will personally be looking to reaccumulate some XRP. $1.69 is my next bearish area of interest, and below that, if sentiment were to worsen further, $1.39. We'll definitely have an update before any of these targets come into fruition, but just be mindful of them. Keep some things on your radar, set some alerts and some alarms. I have mine on, and I'll be paying very close attention. Rolling over to the fundamental aspect of things, real fast, January 13th, 2026. This does not have anything to do with XRP, nonetheless, does involve Ripple. And I thought that it just gives and paints my personal sentiment on Ripple and XRP as a whole. I'm still net bullish on. XRP is still my biggest bag, even though people on the internet try to bash me for not talking about it all the time, as all these other bullish moon boys do, because I'm diversified into other projects. But just so that you guys know, it is still my biggest bag, both in terms of, well, just in terms of value, right? So this goes on to read, as of early 2026, the BlackRock USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund, BULLISH, has officially integrated Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin as a primary 24/7 settlement and collateral off-ramp. This isn't just another partnership, it is the final validation that the institutional grade label on the XRP ledger is no longer a marketing slogan, and it is a functional reality. So hopefully, in some way, shape, or form, eventually this leads to some form of demand for the digital asset XRP. Who knows? But I thought that that was a good headline to read. January 10th, just the other day, Ripple secured an EMI authorization from the Financial Conduct Authority, enabling it to scale its operations in the UK. The new regulatory permissions come as Ripple accelerates its expansion into major regulated markets to position the brand as a leading compliant provider of blockchain-based financial infrastructure. In a media statement, Monica Long, president at Ripple, said, "Finance is undergoing a fundamental shift, and we are rapidly moving beyond pilots into a new era where blockchain and digital assets serve as critical infrastructure for the global economy." Extending Ripple's licenses portfolio and payment solution is about more than just efficiency. It is about unlocking trillions in dormant capital and realizing a world where value moves instantaneously. "We are thrilled," Monica Long said, "to see the UK embracing the compliant infrastructure necessary to make this vision a reality." Ripple announced it has secured both an electric money institution EMI license and crypto asset registration from the UK's Financial Conduct Authority, marking one of its most significant regulatory milestones to date, and that just took place a couple days ago. The approval allows the company to expand its licensed payment platform, enabling UK institutions to send cross-border payments using digital assets with greater speed and efficiency. Ripple Payments, the company's end-to-end cross-border payment solution, manages fund flows on behalf of customers and connects them to global networks of payouts and partners. So I just thought this was interesting, considering that we've been highly focused on both Canton and Ripple. At least I know I personally have as of recent, and we've seen a lot of competition where I went over a full breakdown, the BNY announcement that Ripple had posted the other day and how that runs on Canton infrastructure. But what I found interesting about that announcement is in the same day, we also saw Lloyds Bank confirming architecture built out on Canton, which resides in the UK. We also saw that regulated player for the FX markets and institutional data. I think it was Keiko, if I'm not mistaken, and another organization that is FCA compliant, partnering with Canton. So there's a lot of ongoings happening right now in the UK surrounding Ripple, Canton, and again, just things to be mindful of as regulatory clarity continues to ramp up and institutional adoption continues to scale. So those two fundamentals caught my eye in the research chat today. Again, nothing to do with XRP and more so to do with Ripple, but we know Ripple has admitted that their primary focus still revolves around the utilization and utility of the digital asset XRP. Now heading over to the DeFi aspect of things, two video breakdowns that got me super excited that I hold Canton Coin and continue to stack is the fact that we are likely going to be able to utilize it and scale it in the DeFi ecosystem to earn passive rewards in the future in a compliant fashion moving forward. I'm not personally utilizing my Canton outside of the Braun wallet to earn rewards or passive yield yet. However, these things caught my eye, and so I wanted to bring them to your guys' attention just so that way they're on our radar. I did not stand by any of these platforms. I'm simply just showing you guys some of the recent announcements. So Eric from Digital Asset went on to say this in an interview, and this coexisted with another interview that I'm going to play for you guys here in just a second. He's asked the question, what can you do with your Canton and the DeFi ecosystem? And he goes on to talk about how yield opportunities are going to be available soon.
So a regular DeFi user, what can they go and try out on Canton today?
What can they try? So you mean like normally if I were to log in to Phantom and buy
Right.
some meme coins or something like
Right.
that. Yeah, I think for the pure retail user, that stuff is still a little bit early. It's coming online, but there are some early dexes that are starting to pop up. There are some nice wallets that are passing those dexes through to the users. So you'll be able to get into some of the assets and the stables that are on Canton through those privacy preserving dexes and swap facilities.
Um,
And it's going to look and feel in the not so distant future a lot like what you would in other ecosystems. But I would say with the caveat that I've not seen much emphasis on memes or NFTs or stuff along those lines.
I thought I had this tab open. And so the reason why I'm playing that is because if we go back to just a couple of days ago, you guys remember this panel discussion, the tokenization of real world assets, the state of play with Yuval Ruse of Digital Asset. You have CEO of TradeWeb, the CEO of NASDAQ, the executive chairman of Figure, Mike Caney, and the CEO of DRW, huge institutional players in the game on this panel with digital assets, Yuval Ruse. And at 36 minutes, considering that Eric just mentioned that in the near future, we're possibly going to have these opportunities, the likes of like Phantom Wallet, he mentioned particularly in regards to DeFi on Canton. You guys remember that Mike Caney specifically addressed him having lunch with a sell side bank and how that sell side bank individual was talking about how he's utilizing DeFi and he showed him his Phantom wallet and his MetaMask wallet, right?
Well, I was sitting at a lunch with the head of equities at one of the big sell side banks, and they pulled out their wallet and showed me their Phantom wallet and their MetaMask wallet and all the stuff they were doing in DeFi, and they understood it inside and out, and
Yeah.
and they understood what the value prop was. It's not trading stock 24/7. It's the DeFi collateral aspect.
So he goes on to talk about how these institutions are primarily focused on the DeFi collateral aspect. And he talks about how and confirms that an institution and a player from an institution is utilizing DeFi, which just goes to show that we're in the right space. And that also just kind of coexists with this recent announcement in regards to Ripple, as now, excuse me, in the BULLISH profile, you can utilize RLUSD as a primary 24/7 settlement mechanism and collateral off ramp, right? So it just goes to show that both Ripple and Canton are aligned with these things. Now, this video breakdown was streamed 3 months ago, only has 414 views, and we have a gentleman, the co-founder of Canton Swap, and he just goes on to talk about here in a brief statement how in the near future we're going to have Uniswap options on the Canton network for liquidity providing, lending, borrowing, staking, so on and so forth. Take a second real fast and listen.
Sounds good. And what would be some more of the future plans for Canton Swap?
Yeah, so we have a roadmap, and what is on our roadmap today is to build towards a full Uniswap style DEX on Canton. We really want to bring as much activity onto the chain as possible, and at the same time, we want to listen to the people actually engaged in trading on the network and make sure that we bring the flows that they want as well. So one of the great things about Canton is the privacy component. So I think that the liquidity pools and dark pools and other kinds of trading venues are going to work just sort of naturally a lot better on Canton than they do on other chains. But we also have the ability to build sort of more specialized things according to what people need. So we've been speaking to.
So I just thought that that was interesting that that was just from a couple of months ago, which just goes to show that maybe in the near future, we're going to continue to see these DeFi developments on Canton unfold, and we're going to be able to put our Canton to work. So that leads me over here to this post. Shout out to NaxWeb3 on X. I found this post the other day, and it talks about how currently on which platforms are you farming Canton coin. I will provide a list of projects that can earn Canton coin, and hopefully it is useful. Now, as we go through this list, as I mentioned, the only one that I'm personally utilizing right now is the Braun wallet. So as we go thoroughly through this, again, just do your own personal research. I'm not utilizing any of these platforms, and I don't recommend anybody does, as we're still early on in this space, especially with assets, blue chips like Canton coin. You don't want to end up losing them to some, scam projects. So just do your research if you're going to go out and test and deploy. And if you are going to utilize them, just test, right? Test, take a couple of weeks with test amounts, so on and so forth. Do your due diligence, right? So first, Some of these platforms were kind of familiar in regards to other platforms that we have identified, but some I've never seen these types of use cases or the ability to earn yield in these ways on digital assets before. So a lot of this was new. Number one, Nose FI, CC Browser, Canton Coin Browser. CC Browser for Canton Network. Block explorers can be complex and difficult to understand. Canton Coin Browser by Nose allows you to quickly read and analyze Canton transactions with human-friendly descriptions, available on all Canton explorers. The task that you must complete in order to earn Canton Coin is you can explore any Canton Network Explorer and earn Canton Coin. That is the only one today that was kind of shaky for me, as I was like, what kind of sense does that make? But again, just another earning opportunity. But what I did find on their X profile coming over here, it says November 21st, 2025. So within the last 2 months, if you're running an app on Canton Network, keep an eye on rewards traffic. Here, the live dashboard, you can track it. And right down here, Yanis said in this post, the magic of Canton Network. Currently, the network is operating at sub 1 BME. This means that the network is deflationary. For every $1 spend on fees, apps get 0.80 cents in rewards. Thanks to the massive traffic increase and the magic of the builders at Digital Asset and Canton Network and what they did when designing the network. So I just thought that that was overall bullish for the overall project, is that for every $1 spent, it burns 80 cents in rewards. I'm sure that that has now changed as of the halving. Who knows what those metrics are now, but again, just something interesting to be paying attention to. Coming back over here, number 2 is Modulo. Modulo Finance is a place to borrow, stake, lend, and trade instantly and securely across dozens of chains in one app, no bridges, no wallet switching. The task that you must complete, or excuse me, it actually doesn't go into that detail. It just says claim daily rewards. But what I did find going over here to the Modulo, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, Modulo, X profile right here, they have 44,000 followers. And then clicking on their link and just reading through it, this was probably the most interesting one outside of Temple and the Braun wallet. So reading thoroughly through this, it says 1 vault every chain, borrow, stake, lend, and trade instantly and securely across dozens of chains. And they have pictures of Stellar. They have pictures of XRP up here, right? So who knows what that's going to look like in the future. As we continue, it says, the current DeFi experience is broken. Say you have Bitcoin in a wallet and you want to borrow USDC against it on Aave. Today, that likely means depositing that Bitcoin onto an exchange, trading it into wrapped Bitcoin, withdrawing that wrapped Bitcoin to a self-custodial ERC20 wallet, all funding that wallet with ETH, connecting the wallet to Aave, signing this just straight up just, if I was not a native DeFi user, I would read this and be like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not doing this at all. There's way too many steps. Then connecting the wallet to Aave, signing a message to approve contract interaction, sending another transaction to deposit wrap Bitcoin to Aave, then withdrawing the USDC from Aave, all of which cost gas money. Seasoned users find it messy. New DeFi users wouldn't even try. That's funny. I didn't even read that yet. So here's that process, right? Okay. And in each of these, what you'll notice is underneath it says you have to pay fees. You pay a Bitcoin fee, pay a commission spread, withdrawal fee, pay ETH fee, pay ETH fee, pay ETH fee, right? So you're just losing money across the entire complexity of this. And it says Modulo fixes it all. Modulo gives you 1 vault for every chain. Post Bitcoin on Bitcoin, borrow USDC on Ethereum, trade Solana, stake XRP. That's interesting, right? Since we're on the topic of Ripple and XRP. All in one place instantly. Fund, right? So you just fund Modulo. You can make swaps, approvals, gas, all on Modulo, and you can borrow USDC straight on Bitcoin, all in one click. Native asset support, non-custodial by design, modern login and recovery, fixed rate borrowing, smart automation. Unlocking the future of crypto, where you can swap across chains, send any asset, earn native yield, receive via username. Interesting. Borrow in one click. And again, they mention XRP down here. What makes all this possible? So it goes into all this. Modulo's architecture is built for cross-chain DeFi. It's fast, secure, and composable. Unified vaults for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and more. As we continue to scroll down, here it goes on to why modular matters, and it mentions that it is built for institutions. Institutions can access liquidity against native assets, and also degents can run cross-chain strategies with one click. So it's built for both retail and institutions. Then what I like down here is when you click join waitlist, because I don't believe it's launched yet, it's still in the process of being built out. You come over here, and this is where it says that you can earn Canton. So right down here at the bottom, it says, welcome to the DeFi future. Modulo is officially open for early access. Secure a whitelist spot to unlock exclusive rewards. $10 to sign up, $1 daily rewards, that's $30 per month, $365 per year, just for having an account. It seems like they're giving you rewards just to have an account. And it says down here at the bottom that those rewards are paid in Canton coin, right? Very small, fine print down at the bottom, but nonetheless, there it is, right? So I found that interesting. I'll definitely be paying very close attention to this platform in the future moving forward and watching these developments as they unfold. Next on the list, we had Temple. I'm just going to run through these briefly because these are some of the platforms we've already touched on. Temple, we already talked about. We were probably one of the first people to discover that you can earn Canton rewards by trading on the platform. We saw that on the LinkedIn video breakdown that I did just a couple of days ago. If you missed it, Temple is an institutional market maker platform for institutional grade trading, and each trade earns you Canton rewards, if I'm not mistaken. As we progress, there was another one here. Handle, going back to the post, Handle Pay is making cross-chain stablecoin payments accessible to anyone with a social media handle. Tasks are you have to hold Handle, so it's kind of like similar to Braun. You have to hold the native asset Handle on the website and do tasks. Rewards are paid out in Canton coin and are distributed every 7 days. This one was also probably, I'd say, the second most interesting outside of Modulo. As you come over here and you just read thoroughly through this, it gets pretty darn interesting. Payments via social medias. Here you can see Twitter, Telegram, WhatsApp, Instagram, Google. You got TikTok coming soon, LinkedIn coming soon. That seems all very interesting. Then down here, it talks about the different chains that they support. You have Canton, it says coming soon, Stellar, also Solana, live card payments, Apple Pay, Visa, MasterCard. So all of this just looks very interesting. It just falls in line with the whole digitally native financial transformation where your assets are going to be earning yield 24/7, 365, connected probably directly to your social media platforms, so on and so forth. So I'm not too entirely sure how this platform works entirely yet, but here you can see that this post is directly from January 9th, 2026. So literally just a couple of days ago, and it talks about Canton and Handle and their partnership. I'm not going to get too much into detail into this, but nonetheless, you guys can see it there. And then coming over here and reading a little bit into their docs, this is where it kind of got interesting because down here, it talks about the rewards program and it does mention Canton rewards, right? So again, I'm not going to read thoroughly through this, but it does talk about how in their docs, how you can earn Canton coin. So it talks about your position on the leaderboard, determines how much Canton coin you earn the following day. If you have 10% of the total points balance, you're entitled to 10% of the Canton coin pool. So again, just another platform that allows you to earn Canton coin. Now, again, like I said, I don't know the specifics of each of these platforms. I haven't used them yet. I'm just starting to dabble into them and do research. So I thought that I'd bring them to your attention. Last but not least, we are all pretty much using, I'd say for the most part, anybody that holds Canton coin in this community is now using the Braun wallet, which I think is dope. They've been paying out. Some people have been getting different amounts of rewards. My rewards have been pretty consistent across the board. Yesterday was the first day that they dropped, but they didn't drop too substantially. I still bagged another 343 Canton. I've made over 3,000 Canton since switching from the 10K tier to the 100K tier, and I made a total of over 4,500 Canton since joining this program. So I know that it works, and I've been using it for almost a month now, which has been great, right? So that's, excuse me, that's the spiel on the up and coming DeFi ecosystem for Canton. I'm sure that there's some other projects being built out on Canton that I might have missed in this breakdown, but nonetheless, just some good projects that I just wanted to start to focus on, at least divert a little bit of my attention to, as I'm going to definitely be seeking to use these platforms in the future to earn more rewards on my Canton in the years ahead. All right. So That is all that I have for you guys today. I'll leave the floor open for just a couple of minutes. I do need to go check real quick on my daughter because I hear her yelling and screaming. But outside of that, that is all that I have for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed from start to finish, whether it's the trading aspect that you're dabbling in this community, whether it's the research aspect, or whether it's the DeFi aspect. We cover literally all things across the board accurately and efficiently, and I hope that you guys enjoy that. So with that being said, if there's nothing else, if you guys don't have anything for me, I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you do, I'll leave the floor open for just a couple of minutes.